Alrighty, what's going on, folks? This is Matt here for Dark One Linux Tech and Gaming, where this is the fusion of Linux technology and gaming, and we are doing a reaction video. Shock, I know, for the channel. This particular person, I have no take on them one way or the other. No personal animosity. They were embroiled a little bit in some controversy earlier this year, but I'm willing to give them a chance. We all make mistakes and crap, so we'll see what this goes. If this is like actually good, solid reasons, or is it just like totally subjective, total use case situation? Which, if like in my case, a lot of the stuff that I do that requires Linux or makes Linux the best option is a me thing, not so much a technology limitation thing. So we'll see what he's got to say. So all I'm gonna say is, let's hope he wrote his own shit.
I have people in my comments ask me all the time, Troy, why should I use Linux when Windows does everything I want it to do? I can't tell you to change to Linux. I can't tell you to dump Windows. I can tell you the reasons that I changed, or why I believe that Linux is the future of the desktop operating system. Linux and Windows are two of the most popular operating systems in the world. While both of these operating systems have their pros and cons, what I want to do is present a detailed layout of why Linux is a better choice than Windows for many users. It's open source. One of the primary advantages of Linux over Windows is that it is open source. This means that the source code of the operating system is freely available to anyone who wants to use it. Anyone can modify, distribute, and improve the code, making it a collaborative effort by a large community of developers. The open source nature of Linux provides several benefits to users, including customization. Since the source code is freely available, users can modify the operating system to suit their needs. This means that you can add new features, change the appearance, and even remove unwanted features. This level of customization is not possible with Windows since the source code is not freely available. Transparency. With the open source software, users can see exactly how the software works, which increases transparency. This means
It's free, it's open source, it's transparent. So I very much take a very pragmatic approach when it comes to software. So I am not the atypical free software floss open source preference person. You be talking generically when it comes to this particular fucking point. I hate this as a fucking selling point. It's a plus, but a primary motivator is fucking stupid. So for me, the base OS being open source is great for transparency for the host company, because then I can actually fucking trust you, because at least your shit is being looked at by other people. Whereas with like Microsoft and Apple, you don't get that. Is it a big end user plus? No. And just a quick correction, homie, because Linux in and of itself is the customization and all that stuff isn't because it's open source. It's because of the built-in modularity of the system. That's the difference. The open source nature and the components and all that stuff is an aspect of it, but the part you're talking about where the user is going to care, the UI and all that stuff, that level of customization is done because of the modular nature of the OS as a whole, because it's Unix-like. Do one job and do it well, basically, is the Unix mentality. Now, you can argue systemd and all that crap, but generically, that is the argument for a modular monolithic kernel in its current iteration. Because technically, you can drop, I don't know why you would, but you can drop the GNU herd kernel in, or BSD, or various projects and try dropping in BSD kernels and all that stuff. So it's the tool chain that make everything modular. The open source nature is a development thing. So if you're approaching it as a user who does development, then all that shit's going to matter. If you're approaching it from the pointy, clicky, gooey point of view as a user, you're not gonna fucking care. Can I customize it? Android technically is open source, sort of, kind of. You can customize the shit out of that, but guess what? It's Android, so it's kind of sort of open source. Same logic applies. It's the modularity. So open source is a very strong point of building trust and transparency with a company, but it's not for most normal users the fucking selling point of the OS. The selling point of the OS is a component that, because of the modularity of the system and building that brand trust with a company, that's what a user should care about. Because we could also talk about, niche distros and all that stuff. I'm not going to go in that route because I think all the niche distros add something to the overall environment. But I think using you can read the source code as a fucking selling point is so stupid. At least to the people who just care about using the computer as a tool to get shit done. So if that means that I use the pointy-clicky interface, that means that I use a web browser, however their version of getting work done is, it doesn't fucking matter. Now, if you want to be a command line junkie and spend all day in the CLI typing away, grab commands, go right the fuck ahead. But not everyone's in that boat. Computers are tools. Don't be a tool when recommending the tool. That's kind of how I view it's open source.
This means that users can be sure that the software does not contain any hidden backdoors or malicious code. Community support. The open source nature of Linux has resulted in a large community of developers and users who work together to improve the operating system. This community provides support, fixes bugs, and provides updates to ensure that the operating system remains stable and secure. Lower cost. Since Linux is open source, it is available for free, and users do not have to pay licensing or any other kind of fees. This makes it a cost-effective alternative to Windows, particularly for individuals and organizations that need to run multiple computers. When you really look at it, the open source nature of Linux provides several advantages over Windows.
This is the same regurgitation of bullshit that I've heard for the last 30 years oh damn, sorry, 20, 99, 24 years I've been around Linux. It's the same stupid bullshit. Is this like a chat GPT fucking done script? Jesus Christ. It's free as in cost. For organizations and stuff that run on a budget, I get it, but there's still going to be a cost association with somebody having to put the time in to support the system. Support the machines that you have on the system. So that's a time investment. Are you going to donate financially or timely? That's where it always boils down to, that the people who expound it's free don't understand as in the cost aspect of it. And I will say that the licensing is free, and the fact that I can do what I will with this machine, that matters. The fact that I'm not beholden to a license like an Adobe license, where I believe it was CS6 that they basically just said, yeah, now we're not activating it anymore for an entire fucking country. They made them shift to Creative Cloud. That kind of shit is where open source matters. Not just in a cost perspective, but a company dictating the tools that a country can use. It's not about the fucking underlying cost. It's about mapping your own fucking future. That's what matters. And as far as the cost, I'm in the camp of, if you use any of these tools, doesn't matter if it's on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, whatever, FreeBSD, if you use any of these tools to make money in some way, shape, or form, and you can afford it, you should be donating to these projects or their respective foundations. Because without them, you wouldn't be making the living you do. And that's really what it boils down to. So cost is fucking relative. and it's a shit argument. I will say it does matter to a certain set and section of users based on country, based on economics, and a lot of other stuff. But as the primary motivator in most computing, that's not what people are looking for. Cost matters. Bang for buck is what people care about. So if you're preaching free, the association is freeware or shareware or any type of the Windows equivalent when it comes to computing in Linux, and you say, oh, it's free, there's going to be the assumption there's a fucking catch. So preaching that it doesn't cost shit means people are going to have a kind of, let's say, not a great impression of what that usually means when it comes to software. So stop fucking using it as a selling point.
Windows, including customization, transparency, community support, lower costs. These advantages make Linux an attractive option for users.
I do know the community support thing, it's not just inherent in Linux, it's in technology in general. So you can go to any community and find fucking support. I will say the support is more technically oriented when it comes to Linux specifically, because the people know the ins and outs generically of the entire OS or flavor of OS that they're using for Linux. So the support is different based on level and based on the actual demographics of the users. So again, I'm not going to say it's a key selling point, because most people, reality check, this is what I hate about a lot of Linux YouTubers that don't get it. Most users don't want to know Google foo. They just want their shit to work. So they're not going to care about community support. And I just want to make this clear. I love the community support, but the community support also has issues, because that also feeds into the whole, let's say, production issue when it comes to perception issue of Linux being command line only, because what are all the damn commands in that fucking community help forum going to be? Copy and paste commands from the terminal, or from the internet into the fucking terminal, which is exactly what we tell them not to fucking do. Yeah, community support is great, awesome, fantastic. But you can say that about anything in technology. Give selling points, not bullshit points. And this is why I hate these kind of videos.
Users who value flexibility and control over their operating system. But that's not the only reason.
That's the selling point. Control. I've heard this multiple times. Linux puts the personal back in computing, because you determine the computing experience personally on that piece of hardware. That's the selling point. That's it. The free and all the other shit that you did in the 3 minutes beforehand doesn't fucking matter. That one word could have summed up all the shit prior.
Stability and reliability. Linux is well known for its stability and reliability. Unlike Windows, Linux servers can run for years without the need for a reboot. Thanks to its superior memory management system and efficient handling of multiple processes, Linux's stability is also attributed to the fact that it is designed to be more efficient in resource usage, leading to fewer crashes and system errors. Linux's stability and reliability are due to quite a few factors. Here are just a couple. Kernel design. The Linux kernel is designed to be stable and efficient, with frequent updates and improvements. The kernel is responsible for managing the system resources, and it is the core component of the operating system. The Linux kernel is modular, meaning that it can be customized to suit specific hardware configurations and usage scenarios. File system. Linux uses a variety of file systems, including ext4, which is known for its stability and reliability. The ext4 file system uses journaling, which helps recover data in case of a system crash or power failure. Community support. The Linux community is large and active, and it provides constant support and updates for the operating system.
The prior like 8 minutes that I just ranted about that whole community support thing. I'll just leave it at that.
Community members are dedicated to ensuring that Linux remains stable and secure, and they work together to identify and fix bugs. Before releasing new updates or features, Linux undergoes rigorous testing to ensure that it is stable and reliable. This is done to prevent any system crashes or issues that may arise after release.
Do know that specific portion that you're talking about is more of the kernel in and of itself as opposed to other things, because if that was the case, we wouldn't have a lot of certain issues that we do with some of the DEs or some of the apps, etc. So stability and rock solidness depends. I would say the testing is more thorough and the release cadence is more predictable when it comes to the kernel in and of itself and anything else. The software on all the other stuff, debatable. I'm looking at you, Katie, and I'm a plasma user, but God, you guys ship some buggy shit sometimes.
Release. Windows often requires frequent updates and reboots, leading to downtime for users. Moreover, Windows is known to be more prone to crashes and system errors.
The reboot thing. So if you are on a bleeding edge distro, if you're using like Garuda or like any Arch style distro, Gentoo, etc., and you don't have like, if you don't specify an LTS kernel and you're running Mesa, if you're running any of that stuff, if not specifically reboot, you're still gonna have to log out and redo the display server. So that a lot of that stuff takes. Or sometimes when you're using flat packs and all the other stuff, they don't take until after a reboot. So oh, you don't have to reboot it is kind of becoming a bullshit argument at this point. I'm just saying, like, the reality of it is. And don't get me started on some of the other containerized apps. Snap does the same thing where sometimes you have to go in and tell it to initiate a system D call. But in order for that system D call to be initiated, you have to reboot the system after you initiate the system D call, like the command prompted. So, there's less frequent reboots. Okay, if you're on AMD, like this system is, kernel updates, Mesa updates, Pipewire updates, because sound can get a little funky sometimes without rebooting it. So it's becoming less of a selling point, and like it's not a real subjective view or like objective view of what Linux is as a product. Like this is where I get the kind of annoyance with these videos where it's, oh, Linux does this, and this, and it's like 20-year-old selling points that haven't been fucking updated with the reality of where we're at. Really annoying.
Some errors due to its monolithic kernel design and the presence of numerous background services and applications. Linux stability and reliability are the result of its kernel design, file system, community support, and testing. These factors make Linux an excellent choice for servers and mission-critical applications that require high levels of uptime and availability, and of course, don't forget the desktop. Another key advantage of Linux over Windows is its security. Linux is known for being a secure operating system that is less vulnerable to malware and other security threats. This is primarily due to its architecture and design, which includes the following features: user accounts and permissions. In Linux, each user account is a...
If you're going to talk about this, the simple reality of it, and I already know where he's going. He's talking about like user and design and the way it's built. Linux is a multi-user system dwindled down to a single user. That's how the account system works, basically. Windows is a single user system trying to scale up to a multi-user system, so it's a bunch of basically individual user accounts. Now, I mean, there's like, you have Active Directory and all the other stuff, but like the core, like principal design of Windows is kind of that. One's singular to multiple and one's multiple to singular. So the design's very, and philosophy is very different. One is more secure than the other. the way I look at security really simply, the problem is between the keyboard and the chair. That's really what it boils down to. As far as stuff being designed and whatnot for Linux, some of the stuff that has been made for Linux or targeted Linux or found in Linux or Linux related things do have a very big effect on the back end. I will say, things like Heartbleed and all the other, there's tons of like specific vulnerabilities that can be mentioned. But to say like the design of like most malware, because it's going to target Windows or Android or whatever, the design is different because of the way Linux uses user accounts and root accounts and all that stuff, as opposed to the other way. That I will give you. However, security, again, to me and my perspective and most people's perspective that deal with anything, is the human portion is always going to be the problem in security.
Is assigned specific permissions, which restricts their access to the system resources. This means that malware cannot easily gain access to critical system files or settings. Package management. Linux uses package management systems such as apt, yum, and pacman, which provide a secure and centralized way to install, update, and remove software. Package management ensures that software is obtained from trusted sources and that the updates are thoroughly tested before release. Firewall and access controls. Linux includes built-in firewall and access control features, which help protect the system from unauthorized access.
Now, I'm no fan of Windows nor Mac, to be brutally honest, and the Windows Store, well, we won't even go there, is essentially a centralized repository. Just saying. Whether or not it's fully vetted and all that stuff, you can make the argument maybe that all the apps available in Arch, the Arch repos, aren't exactly the most vetted potentially, etc. Now, there's, kind of a layered system to get to certain points to contribute to the official Arch repos, etc. I understand that. I'm just saying that to say it's fully trusted, they're trusted. But once you start going in and using, the AUR, Arch user repository, it's like adding a PPA. It's just Arch's version of it. It might be trusted, it might not be. And if you go and hit enter and type in your password, all the security stuff don't mean shit. So, again, I'm not a fan of this video. This sounds very robotic and 20 years ago.
Access and attacks. These features can be configured to allow or deny incoming and outgoing network traffic, limiting the risk of data theft or malware infection. Security updates. The Linux community regularly releases security updates and patches to address known vulnerabilities and prevent new threats. These updates are distributed through package management systems, ensuring that they are installed securely and reliably. Windows is known to be more susceptible to security threats due to its popularity and the presence of numerous vulnerabilities in its code. Windows is also a common target for malware and viruses, as it is the most widely used operating system in the world. Linux's security features, including user accounts and permissions, package management, firewall, access control, security updates, make it a secure choice for individuals and organizations that prioritize security and data protection. Linux offers greater flexibility and compatibility compared to Windows. Linux is designed to be modular, which means that users can customize it to suit their needs. Users can choose from a variety of distributions, or distros as they're called, each with its own set of features and configuration. Linux also offers better compatibility with a wider range of hardware and software. Linux drivers are often included in the kernel, making it easier to install and use new hardware. Moreover, Linux can run on a variety of
I hate that new hardware argument. That's if it's in the kernel. Or if the fucking distro ships it. Because, as an example, the way AMD does stuff is different than the way NVIDIA does stuff or Intel does stuff. Generically, most new Intel hardware just works generically out of the box for the most part. AMD, when they announce new things, they basically pin it on a certain version of Mesa and a certain version of the kernel that you have to use in order for that new hardware to work. And then it boils down to which kernel, which version of Mesa, which X, Y, or Z is the distro gonna ship. If it's an older version and you buy a brand new piece of hardware, it might not fucking work. Let's just be real. If you're expecting sometimes hardware to work on day one on Linux, you are going to have a shitty experience. I will say, NVIDIA, despite its flaws and like its insane view on like pricing schemes, support-wise, for day one, has been a much better track record than AMD. Intel beats both AMD and NVIDIA when it comes to that. AMD, long term, because they do most of their stuff in the open, has a better support record because things in graphics cards and CPUs and GPUs, all that stuff just don't fall off like they do when NVIDIA decides to stop supporting stuff and it just gets rolled into the legacy kernel. That's the difference. So again, new hardware depends. As much as I hate using the term, research it, know if your OS is supported. That's all I can say.
Variety of architectures, including x86, ARM, PowerPC, 32-bit, making it a versatile choice for different types of devices. Another advantage of Linux is that it supports a wide range of software and programming languages, including popular tools like Python, Ruby, Java. Linux is also a preferred operating system for running servers and cloud computing environments, making it an ideal choice for developers and IT professionals. Windows is a closed-source operating system that offers limited customization and flexibility. It is designed to work best with Microsoft products and technologies, which can limit its compatibility with third-party hardware and software. Linux's flexibility, compatibility, make it an excellent choice.
If you are talking specifically about architecture support, yes, Linux has better architecture support than Windows. ARM, RISC, x86, x64, take your pick. If you're just talking about overall industry support, depends where you're at. Some are a mixed environment, some are a Windows shop, some are a Linux shop. Again, support is relative to the use case. I hate blanket fucking statements. And that's what like 90% of this video has fucking been lately, is just blanket statements.
Excellent choice for users who value customization and versatility. Its modular design, compatibility with various architectures and software, and support for a wide range of programming languages make it an ideal platform for developers and IT professionals. And last, but definitely not least, is the cost. One of the most significant advantages of Linux over Windows is its cost. Linux is an open source operating system, which means that it is free to use and distribute. Users can download and install Linux distributions without paying any license fees or subscription costs. In contrast, Windows is a proprietary operating system that requires users to pay for a license to use it. The cost of Windows licenses can be significant, particularly for businesses that need to purchase licenses for multiple devices.
God.
Furthermore, Linux's cost advantages extend beyond the operating system itself. Linux users can access a vast library of free and open source software, including productivity tools, multimedia applications, and development environments. This means that the user can save money on software costs without compromising on quality or functionality. Linux's low cost of ownership make it an attractive choice for organizations of all sizes, particularly those with limited.
Oh my God. Are we seriously going with the TCO argument, total cost of ownership argument? Total cost of ownership is relative to the organization, to the use case, etc. Because Linux is a different beast, I'm not going to call it more niche, but the expertise in Linux can be more niche, can be cost more than a Windows idiot from school that, you know, they mass produce those system admins. Basically, a Linux admin is going to be a little different cost wise. Support, you know, the thing that you're talking about, like, you're looking at it strictly through licensing. Then you got to look at it through deployment. Then you got to look at it through software support. Then you have to look at it through use case, which I can't drive home enough. I hate this fucking stupid ass it doesn't cost anything argument. It is the worst fucking argument you can use when people have the preconceived notion free equals low quality. Because where they're coming from, generically, they equate free with the low quality, because usually the software is low fucking quality, locked, limited, etc. as far as use and functionality. And we harp on this, and I can't fucking stand Linux YouTubers who, it doesn't cost me anything. It's free. It's free software. Cool. Awesome. Do you not understand marketing and preconceived notions about something and word association? Because that's like 90% of what marketing is. Anyway, short version, I really, really hate this video. And it does sound like a chat GPT fucking made a script. I'm not gonna fucking lie. With arguments from fucking 20 years ago that I've been hearing for 20 years. Can we come up with something other than it doesn't cost me anything?
Limited IT budgets. Linux cost advantage is particularly significant in developing countries where the cost of the proprietary software licenses can be prohibitive for individuals and businesses. Linux's cost advantage is a significant factor that makes it an attractive alternative to Windows. Its open source nature and the availability of a vast library of free and open source software make it a cost-effective choice for individuals and organizations alike. Really, closing things out, Linux offers several advantages over Windows, including stability, performance, security, flexibility, and cost. Linux is a stable and reliable operating system that offers excellent performance and can run on a wide range of hardware and architectures. Its modular design and compatibility with various software and programming language make it a versatile choice for developers and IT professionals. Additionally, Linux's security features and regular security updates make it a secure choice for individuals and organizations that prioritize data protection. Linux's cost advantage is another significant factor that makes it an attractive alternative to Windows, particularly for individuals and organizations with a limited IT budget. Linux is free to use and distribute, and its library of free and open source software provides users with a range of powerful and high-quality tools without incurring any additional cost. While Windows remains a popular operating system, Linux offers a compelling alternative that provides users with the more control, flexibility, and cost savings. Ultimately, the choice between Linux and Windows will depend on a variety of factors, including your needs, user needs, preferences, technical requirements. However, for users who value stability, security, flexibility, and cost effectiveness, Linux is a viable and attractive option to consider. Do me a favor before you leave today. Please like the channel. Likes keep me in YouTube's algorithm, which means if you
I just fucking can't. Oh my god. Oh my god. These videos hurt my head. Short version. The one selling point Linux has over everything else. And you can wrap it up in a few different ways. But if you want to wrap it up in one word, control. It doesn't matter what the cost. It doesn't matter about X, Y, or Z. I could buy a Linux system with a pre-installed OS And I still have control about what I rip off and what I don't rip out of the system. You don't need to get into the kernel specific modularity and all the other stuff, like the design. Like a generic user isn't going to care nor generically understand what any of that bullshit means. Monolithic kernels and all the other shit. You know, I hate these type of videos because they target broadly but nobody. That's what I hate. It throws terminology at like people interested in computing but might not understand those terms, like they have a fucking dictionary of those terms with them. And it's not how it works unless you're willing to deep dive into it yourself. So you're speaking to an audience of everybody but nobody. And it just, these videos hurt my fucking head. People want to know why I'm going to have a fucking ulcer from watching them. So, control. Linux puts the personal back in computing. There's your tagline. That's all you have to say about it. You want a system that you control, you can, every aspect of, from the hardware level all the way to the software level. Here's your personal computer. That's all we got to say. This is 20 years of marketing bullshit from 20 years ago, done in the current to an audience that it's trying to sell to a normal end user that isn't going to understand half these fucking terms, nor technicalities, nor fucking care. And then they're just going to hear certain words like, oh, it's free as in cost, but because of the platforms they're coming from, they're going to equate that to low quality software. So you're equating what you're selling, Linux as the product with no cost, as a lower quality alternative. So you're shooting yourself in your own fucking foot by promoting something that is going to be seen as lesser than where they're coming from. So then they're going to question, why the fuck am I going to switch? It's a novel idea. If you guys like certain people like this, cool. But I swear to God, these are not people that I can watch. It's an unrealistic 20-year argument of the same bullshit that I have always railed against when it comes to Linux, like YouTubers, community, etc. You can't market because you don't understand what you're trying to market to. So other than that, that was a 40-minute rant. You guys know what to do. Comment, rate, subscribe, Indigala, Humble Bundle, Patreon, all that crap is down below. And I will catch you on the flip. Peace.